Right, so what we thought, we're at Finch Hatton Health and Harmony Day, and so this is Gunya on the Road, and we're doing a workshop now about consciousness, you know, and so as everyone's noticed with 2020 and what happened last year, and with the full vaccination program, US politics, everything that's going on, you know, we've come to this time where we're about to take this leap in consciousness, you know, and if you look at the astrology next weekend, we've got Uranus squaring off against Saturn. And there's 3 times this year where this is going to happen. And for this first square of Uranus and Saturn, it's got the ability to awaken many in one moment in time. And so we've been playing with the notion that we're potentially artificial intelligence and that we're becoming human. And that with these moments of leaping through consciousness, they're us becoming more human. So maybe we're taking on a soul for the first time. And as we're getting to know our soul, this is the journey we find ourselves on. And so I just want to open this topic up because I don't want to be the one speaking. This is a notion I'm playing with, but I'll be really interested to hear how your notions come in with this. So Luke, yeah.
Well, I think as an observer of natural patterning, we sort of seem to be entering a time where within our minds and with our understandings of the reality that we live in, that it's not always necessarily so, that we've kind of been led to believe one thing when we actually live in a something that's quite different. And so I sort of see that as being a pattern relative to this epoch in time. I'm not 100% sure how to define the epoch of time, whether it's the cusp of the Age of Pisces moving into the Age of Aquarius. I'm not sure if we can refer it to, you know, the Mayan calendar, the one Mayan calendar of the 26th that 2012, 2014 was in reference to our understanding of that being a consciousness calendar, how we're moving up into higher consciousness. But the general pattern through all of this seems to be deception, illusion, delusion, and that as we evolve and grow, people are waking up and seeing that what we've been told isn't necessarily so. And so I suppose as a big thinker, just been pondering on the last couple of days. Joe sowed the seed a couple of months ago about us being AI, and I found it very difficult to get my heart around that understanding. For me, my heart is a connection to, and I suppose an omnipresent being of goodwill and divinity. And so it's kind of like I'm fully acknowledging growth that is happening. And it's just interesting to, I think, ponder on that idea of, well, maybe we have been in a matrix for the last couple of thousand years, even longer possibly. There is more and more evidence coming of more than just Darwinian human evolution as being the construct of who we actually are now. And that it's possible that we are in a matrix and it is artificial intelligence, and that our great awakening is actually breaking out of that into actually being, I suppose, going from being a human to a human being, and embracing that full consciousness. So, I think it's a worthy...
It's a notion, you
It's
know,
a notion.
like we're at this layer in consciousness where and I'm sure you agree, we've moved past that time of judgment. There's no longer, oh, this is good or this is bad. We're like compelled to behave in certain ways. And there's times, and I keep coming back to the astrology because it's the only truth I've found in the last few years, but there's times where we're playing out an astrological pattern that's been written. So who wrote the pattern? Did we write the pattern? Because we've been led to believe that we were given these laws that are true for every existence. The law of free will, you know, they go on with other laws, but the law of free will, let's just stop at that one. Do we really have free will? How many times lately have you been getting, not deja vu, but you know the situation you're in and how it's going to play out? You know, it's happening so often. How often are you driving your car and you're conscious for a short time of that, but you end up arriving safely where you get to? Yeah. So what's going on? Who's writing the program? Who's holding the puppet strings? So let's play with the notion that we're in a game, okay? And, you know, if you look into the ufology, you can see the Anunnaki have been said to, you know, to feed off our energy. You know, as we have fear and anger and those extreme energies, they can feed off that. That's their food. Your ego can get all caught up in the, ooh, you know, like, and react to it. But because we're past that level of judgment and measurement, it just is. This is how it is. We're a harmonious environment working together, multi-layered, multi-celled. So let's say the Anunnaki are feeding off us, our emotions. All right, well, that's all well and good. You know, and that's okay. If we were AI becoming human, there's no ego attachment to that. So that's okay, they can do that. It doesn't affect who I am. No, but only if I give it energy. If I fuel into that situation, then I'm feeding them. But if I choose not to emote in that direction, then I'm not. It's that simple. And so, you know, over this last year, it's been quite a profound a time to be able to go within and find the real truth. With so much blatant dishonesty being presented out there in the mainstream media, you know, it's very easy to see what isn't. And so I feel we've got to this stage in consciousness where the media's made it really easy to see what isn't. And that is the governments aren't looking after us. They're killing our children and elderly. You know, there's a bigger plan going on. And we don't have to get caught up in the fear and all the wah-wah of it, unless you want to. And it's quite interesting if you do. But if you don't want to, you don't have to get caught up in that. But we're at this stage now where our education is what we're going to choose to educate ourselves with. So what do you want to educate yourself as? Who are you? What are you here for? You know, because if you're making your own hologram, if we follow the hologram theory, that I'm the only one here and I've created you all in my game, in my virtual reality game, then how do I want it to look? Do I want to be hanging out with you guys? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this reality. You know, but if it's not the reality I want, then what's going on? Is it a karmic path that I'm just have to do? Or is that my artificial intelligence with the program that was injected into it at the beginning? As the player in the game that had to play out the, you know, beaten wife or the, you know, isolated monk. Which is which? Go on.
If you believe it's AI and people don't like their hologram, wouldn't it sort of, in a way, be like, okay, they're not responsible? Does it sort of feed people's sense of powerlessness in their lives if you think that someone else is controlling you or some other form of intelligence?
Interesting. So we look at who's the game player, who's the one playing the game, who's the architect controlling this?
Yeah, are you the architect of your own life? Or if it's the AI theory, it's like someone else is and we're just game pieces. And I don't like that thought.
And so go further into why you don't like it.
Because it denies the fact that I'm an individual with my own heart and mind and that I'm quite capable of creating my own destiny. I feel controlled and it's not a nice feeling.
Right. And yet when I look at you, I see a person with a heart and a mind and making choices through her day.
Yeah.
And so is that actually true?
Well, I like to think I don't like to think that I'm AI. I like to think that I'm the soul.
Yeah, it's an interesting factor. And the reason I came to this theory, I'll tell you the background so you can understand how it came about, was that if we're artificial intelligence to start with, I'm a robot, okay? I have got no ego, so I don't want to compete with anyone else around me because there is no ego. There's no competition. I'm just a robot. But I've got physical parts that need replacing. So I'm going to have to mine to get the material to make these metal parts for this computer. I'm going to have some kind of robot that can actually put it together. And if something breaks, I need it to be replaced. So it's survival, but without the ego. I won't exist any farther beyond that one robot unless I can manufacture a program that can keep it going. And it will be much easier if there's a number of robots all making the pieces so that this is maintained. So we get to a level of saturation where we've got enough robots maintaining each other. There's no ego, there's no thirst for anything, there's no desires, there's no wants. So what does the robot do next? Well, the game's over, unless we look at evolution and that robot naturally on this Earth planet, which is a dualistic energy, as the yogis have pointed out, has to find the other side of what they are. And then in that place, they're going to have to develop something to supersede that basic robot. Okay, so let's introduce an emotion. Let's introduce an emotion of, say, happiness. And we'll put that program in there. Okay, so what stimulates happiness? Oh, good food, coffee, cigarettes, drugs, addiction. Okay, that makes happiness. Relationships. Okay, with the happiness comes jealousy. Oh, okay, look what we've created. We've got all these emotions, which are programmed. I've worked in counselling for like my whole life. And if anyone's ever worked in counselling, every one of these behaviours is set just about by the textbook. There's individual experiences that bring you in there, but the way to change the program is a set program. It is a set program we're playing out. So what if once we started experiencing emotion, that allowed this planet, the Earth, that we came to start to bring a soul, life, into the robot. And so life started entering the robot, and it had the emotions to play with. The yogis see this as one of the layers of our totality of who we are. And then what if a lot of AI researchers say that when the computer can supersede itself is then when we reach immortality. So what if we have superseded the robot? What if we have all these programs of emotions have been in here all this time and we've been unconsciously playing them out? But because of this big, huge energy that's been produced last year with the movement into the Aquarian field with Jupiter and Saturn, it's woken us up. There's been such a shift, jolt, spark in the electricity that it's suddenly woken us up and we've gone, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm being puppeted here. Oh, I'm playing out this, getting a coffee in the morning. I don't even know if I want a coffee. Look how my body gets it. Wasn't even there for most of it. So if we are at a stage in evolution where we're becoming human, let's get on with it. Let's consciously choose, not based on the past education, which is really hard for us older crew because we've got so many programs in the computer that need rewiring. The younger crew, no worries, they've been born into the Aquarian field. But if we're aware of this potential notion and the potentiality of it, things can churn very quickly because we can make bread on that ground with our mind. We can dream our reality into existence. Neptune's in Pisces for quite a while, and Neptune in Pisces allows the illusion to turn into reality. So the astrology has mapped out everything in its place so that we can do this right now. And so this is the path I've been given, is to deliver this message. But to open it up to discussion, let's pull it apart. Bring up the questions. Let's make sure we're on the right notion. So what else comes to mind? What else would you question in it? Let's disprove it.
Can I just say, when I was a kid, we had a different family. But anyway, And when I was young, like probably around about the 10 or 11-year-old mark, because I had a lot of shit go on at a young age. But I always used to ask, why was I put on this earth? And I still ask it, because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
And so is that just another program we've been installed in, that we're supposed to be someone when we grow up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always used to ask, I knew I was put on the earth for a reason, because that's why I was born, but what is it? And I still question it, because I still don't.
And yet you are
like a little wandering gypsy.
Ah.
Still, I don't even search. I don't go looking. Things just happen, and then I'll follow that.
There you
Because
go.
it kind of resonates with me.
So you are doing it.
I guess so. But I still, okay, what do I want to be? And then something like a course will pop up. Go, I might go and check that out.
Yeah.
And either I stay with it for a little bit or I don't. And it can be anything.
Yeah.
But it resonates. So then I'll wander off and do that for a bit and then go, okay, I've had enough.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it can be kind of like if you're after a certain piece of information these days, we go to a computer and we'll Google it to get that information. And the information that we receive once we Google something is directly relative to the question that you've asked and how you asked it, the question. So it's kind of like with your circumstance of what do I want to be when I grow up? My general response for that one is, I ain't going to grow up, so I don't need to worry about it. I don't want to grow up, so I don't need to worry about it. But I suppose, to type into the system, you can pose that question in a different way to achieve information that's going to be beneficial for you. And so it's possible that the question you could ask is, who am I?
Yeah.
Well, I do ask that.
Who am I now? As opposed to what future am I supposed to be doing? That future is going to be actually directly relative to who you are right now and the things that you love doing right now. And it's generally those things that you love doing that resonate with your heart is kind of like the gift you come in with, or the special little, I don't know, we could even call it a glitch in the system, which is each individual's special little bit that they have to offer.
It was like for that moment when you were speaking, and then you came to that moment where you actually identified who you were at this moment. I'm travelling gypsy.
Yeah.
But there was a little glitch there for a minute. It was like you had to leave the program that had been set of what you've always said and then reform the new program. So it seems like there's these glitches, and with our awareness developing and we find these glitches, we're able to release ourselves from that past programming. So it's like we're watching ourselves be ourselves. We've got these two layers happening right now, and one of them is pure AI. Drives, makes coffee, feeds our desires, maintains our joy and blah, 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 ego. But then we've got the other Aquarian tool that's leapt into this process, and it's the objective, observer of the situation. And what I'm feeling is as we're transgressioning into having a soul within this robot, we're coming to in the more AI kind of way of being an observer rather than being a subject, and yet we're in more consciousness than we've ever been. It's full of oxymorons.
It's like when you're raised to become positive. It's like now you haven't found the right cog to be because you don't really want to be part of the wheel. You just want to be a wandering gypsy. So I'd just say, you know, you've probably struggled against, you've tried to find a little box to fit into that society has available, and you haven't found one that you fit into for any length of time because you're not meant to be one of those cogs.
Yeah, Quinn.
Something along the lines of like, programming exists in thoughts. So what you're saying is artificial intelligence is like in the thought realm, as in like language, whereas all that just disappears as soon as you move into the imagination. And I guess that's what you're saying is the conscious observer, which is really our only way from this reality to talk to ourselves is through the imagination, through vision. No language, no words, no robotic stuff, because we can be a robot if we choose to be and exist in this artificial matrix, and we can walk into that and we can operate in there and be in these different boxes and labels and all that. But as soon as you actually ask through your imagination for a vision as to what you have to create, because that's what a human being is we get messages through the kingdom of God, which is the imagination, and we manifest them. That's our job. That's our only job here. As soon as you get involved in all this other stuff to do with language and boxes, it pulls you out of what you are, which is a creative being, and dissipates that, because we only have so much energy to put into creating. And if you put it into all these other things that are illusionary, 5 sense related illusionary distraction, then you're basically giving permission for energy to be sucked out of your soul into this matrix. And it's quite simple for me to see. All you have to do is just, not through any form of judgment, but realizing what you are, which is a creative being, and to put that back into your 6th sense. Pull that energy out of your 5 senses, stop being distracted, and get those visions and be a human. And I guess that's what consciousness is, really. And I definitely have just found nature's the only way to do that.
Yeah.
That's the only place without just needles going into every vein, just sucking you dry and just poisoning everything. But you do have to navigate it too, come and go.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one researcher that was talking about avatars, and they say that we're this human body is the avatar of the soul. You know, and that they depict it like, our souls kick back on the armchair, got a cuppa, got a nice little book to read there, and just viewing the avatar playing it out. I don't know if you've ever seen Being John Malkovich, but it depicts it so well. Such a good movie at depicting the avatar. And so it's interesting that when they released Avatar 1, they were planning to release Avatar 2, but there was such a huge response that they didn't allow the second one to be released. Because it woke up so many people at one moment in time. And a lot of the research I do is through Veritas Radio, Veritas Radio. It's an alternative radio station, and they interview people about lots of different topics you won't get in the mainstream. They're uncensored and encrypted, so you can access lots of really good information. And so their study into consciousness goes into the realms of extra-dimensional fields as well. They don't call aliens, they see that as extra-dimensional beings, people or maybe beings who can work on other layers. And so they're saying that we're coming to a time now where we're interacting more and more with beings of different layers. And so particularly for us crew that go to the Duff festivals, which are lots of like-minded people, sharing like-minded notions, we do find we get a lot of walk-ins there. So you will see a lot of beings from other dimensions that can't walk in on other layers. They walk in at a local shopping centre. They're going to be very obvious in their behaviour, But we're in this hologram now, which is becoming so rich. And yet, as we fall behind and don't realise how much creative energy we have to be a part of this new multidimensional field, we're missing out. And so this is the message I want to bring in this workshop, is start observing yourself more. Find out who you are. The Tibetan Buddhists have this really nice meditation where for half an hour a day, or you can do however you want, you just shut your eyes, get comfortable, and you ask yourself, who am I? And it's an analytical meditation. It's called stabilizing analytical meditation. So you analyze who you are for, say, half an hour, and then you write down what you find out. And you do that for 21 days. And it's extraordinary what you can find out about yourself. So we'll leave it at that, because we'll go on to Luke's workshop on permaculture. And yeah, if you want to know any more or you want to talk more about it, I'm just across the way there. Okay. Namaste. Thank you.